Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Silver and I'm in the ceramic studio and I'm going to show you how to create a slab vessel today. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is all over the internet. You can look everywhere and find this, but this is just one chart I found on an anatomy of a vase, basically. And if I come in here with a layer here, just to point something out to you guys, that what they're basically talking about, and I'll just trace it, is you have the base, right? That's the very bottom, and then usually this tends to flare out. That's called the body, that part that flares out. And then the shoulder is where it sort of moves in, just like the shoulder. And think of this part up here as the neck or the choke, right? And then finally you have the lip. And the lip can just kind of come up like this. Sometimes it flares out a little bit, does other things. Just really depends. And obviously, you have the base and the top. So there's so many options for how to work on this. And you can see over here, I've been playing around with a couple here on my own. And that's something that you think about is what you want to do. If you are having trouble drawing what you have, you can always make one side of your vase like this. And then honestly, if you just take a piece of paper and cut it in half, and I can demonstrate that to you, or I just did this online by taking on my iPad rather, taking this, and I'm just going to copy the layer, right? So I'll just duplicate my layer and then move it over and then flip it, and now I have the other part of my vase. So if you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable drawing both sides, fear not. There are plenty of programs out there to help you out as you consider options for base anatomy, if that is something that you are going to consider. But definitely you want to make several iterations, several choices, and see what works for you before you move on. So I'm skipping the planning stages where you need to plan out what you're going to do with your clay, but at some point you do need to wedge your clay and prep it and then roll it into a slab. So I'm showing how I went ahead and rolled out some of my clay on a slab roller. I preset my slab roller to a specific width, added an extra piece of canvas to it, and that's just the top, just to show you how that works. So I flop that down. I bring the other extra canvas back. That's actually going to be how you move the clay. And then the idea behind this is I just straighten out the canvas. I find if it has wrinkles, that does create problems. And you just start rolling the clay out and straighten as you go. And when you're all set and you get to the very end, make sure that you flip the canvas over. Otherwise, when you roll back, you're going to snag the canvas. Anyway, so I roll all the way over, and then, oh, look, there's my finger. Roll all the way back. And when I flip this over, voila, I have a slab that is the perfect width. And then I can just pick up the canvas and bring this over to the table. Never lift it just from the clay. The clay is too soft plastic, and it will literally stretch and distort in your hand. So this is flat, but watch the trick. It has to be at least 3 sides, whatever your base or shape is going to be. And, it could be square, but I'm going to take some tape here and tape this down like that. Take out here, and I think just to be on the safe side, I'll tape it a 3rd time. So I continue taping the 3 sides together. I just sped this up a little bit, but you can see at the very end what the form is going to eventually look like. Right. So I'm speeding this up, but you can see what I did is I took my paper templates to make sure I had enough clay, which I did, and then I rolled out my texture stamp, and I left a little bit of an extra spot because I wanted to have some flat clay for the base, and I have plenty of clay and then some, and you'll see I'll do something with that as well in another video set. And I just went ahead and laid out some newspaper on top. What that does is it sucks the moisture out. You can also use drywall from like the Home Depot, and the idea is that this slowly takes the moisture out. And what I did is I wrapped this in plastic when I was all done, and I took it home with me actually. And it's really an exercise in waiting because I have to get it to be hard plastic. But that's it for now. Hey everyone, so let's just pretend for a second that what you're looking at right here is 4 slabs of clay with some kind of, the blue is supposed to represent some kind of design on them. And if you were to take these 4 slabs, and let me just show you, and score and slip them together, and hopefully this will become very obvious in just a minute. But if it doesn't, I'll just start putting them together like that. Oopsie. The problem here, as you can see, is even though they fit, you get these areas where the pattern from the outside doesn't show it. So you get a weird, awkward, flat area on each side. So that's what happens if you cut your slabs at a 90-degree angle. So what I mean by that is if you take your slab, and here it is, right? And you just cut it straight down, right? So just imagine this dotted line is a cut line. That's going to create the problem that we're talking about. So how do we solve this problem? Well, there is a solution, believe it or not. So I'm going to bring up some examples. Instead of cutting them at a straight down angle, if you cut them at what we call a 45-degree angle, so you can see how there's like an edge there. When I put these together with the 45-degree angle and I score and slip them together, you're going to end up with a much different solution. Obviously, you can see how they kind of fit together, and what's lovely about this is that in the process, so you can see that in the process you don't lose that texture on the edge. Hey everyone, so it's the next day, and or at least it's been a couple hours later, and I let my clay sit out, and you can see if I hold it up, it's not like completely stiff, but it has a little bit of give, but it's not flopping over. So it's definitely like in the hard plastic stage at this point, which is the perfect stage to work with. You don't want it to get too dry because then the clay can't stick together. So I'm going to go ahead and take this now, and I've already cut out 2 of my pieces, and let's see if I can hold this up to the camera, but if you look at the sides, I don't know how easy that is to see. There's a little undercut. So I didn't cut straight down like I talked about. I cut at a 45-degree angle. And I've already done this with 2. The only places I'm not going to cut at a 45-degree angle are at the base right here. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut 45-degree angle here and here at the base. I'm going to cut that at an exact 90-degree angle. So I'll start at those places. Sometimes what people like to do is trace out their image. So like I can come in here and sort of just gently drag my fettling knife. So here I am, I just traced around the image. So I'm not actually cutting, I'm just kind of marking where the paper is, the edge of the paper. So in case I want to not have that. And then I just trace straight across, or I draw straight across. So those are 90-degree cuts, and then this is a 45-degree angle. If you look carefully, you can see I'm cutting at a 45-degree angle. And I like to flip the clay around because it hurts my So after you finish trimming all your clay, you can see I have a piece there for the base. I'm ready to score and slip. So I grabbed a fork, and you really chew up the sides. So I kind of go in one direction, and you'll see, I think I zoom in a minute, and I go in the other direction. And the one thing you're going to notice is I don't actually have any slip because I create my own slip using water. So there I am applying some water to the clay, and then I chew it up again. And what that does is it actually creates a layer of slip with the chewed up clay. And what I like about that is I don't have to have an extra jar of slip of the same clay body sitting around. I'm sorry, when I videotaped this, I didn't realize that the vase was cut off there. But there I am, carefully joining the sides together, and I almost wish I had a second person to help me hold everything up when I was working on this, but it came together pretty well. I had a few snafus here and there, but there I am, just kind of making sure that every single part is really pushed together, and you can still see some seams. You really want to make sure that they're completely joined together, and unfortunately when I did this, I kind of lost a little bit of the texture on the side. I was a little aggressive about that. So there I am, chewing up the bottom and the top, and I had to cut off a little bit of the top. I'll show you in the next video a better way to do this in just a minute. but there I am just doing cleanup on the vase. And here I am scoring and slipping the vase. So I went ahead and just figured out where the vase was going to be, made sure I had enough space, and chewed it up, added some water to that, scored it up again. That creates that slip that I was talking about. Have to do the same thing on the other piece as well. So you can't see it, but I'm scoring and slipping, adding water, and then pushing it down. And then here's the important thing. When I cut this at the bottom, I don't cut straight down. Again, it's hard to see at this angle, but I cut it in a 45-degree angle again, because it just looks so awkward when you have something that's just coming straight out of the table. When it has a little bit of an undercut, it looks aesthetically better, and it holds up better. And again, there I am just cleaning up stuff that you just can't see. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next video. So after I made the vase and I was looking at it, I didn't like how there were these edges that had no, unfortunately, like I tried, but they didn't have any texture on them. So I'm going back while the clay's still sort of right at the edge of hard plastic, and I'm just applying a little bit of pressure. Also, I feel like the top of this is not quite level, and I didn't have access to this at my home, but I have like a cheese grater, and I can just kind of gently plane the surface and even that out a little bit more, and then smooth it out. It's better already. So here's just a final preview of what the vase looks like at this point. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how I experimented a little bit with underglaze and thought about surface application for the color after I finished this portion of the vase.